Hey everyone, thanks for checking out the video. Hope you're doing well. Had a long day, but my work is done, my emails are sent, and I thought it would be a good time to talk about some comics. I guess if you read the title of the video, it's about AI art. I've seen a lot of that stuff lately, some good, some bad, some ugly. And the stuff that I think is really interesting is people trying to use it for comics. I've seen a few things that sort of work, some scenes that are a bit of like a montage, but not necessarily panel to panel storytelling. I've seen some people use it for backgrounds. That's been slightly more successful, I think. But the thing I think it's really shown as, or done some cool stuff as, is some design work. So a couple weeks ago, I got this from my wife. She had entered some We Are Scarlet Twilight prompts into Midjourney. I think vampire, Art Deco, superhero, some stuff like that. And I got this back. While none of them looked like Captain Lancet or would have been what I wanted for him, I thought, wow, this is pretty cool stuff. These two on the bottom especially, I'll probably use down the line. The sequel to Scarlet Twilight is going to be called, I think, Scarlet Twilight Cobalt Crisis, at least it is right now, and it's going to be sort of a Crisis on Infinite Earth style story. So, as you can imagine, tons of heroes and villains going to be in there. And these designs, they could easily show up. I think they will. Now, that being said, I have another project in the works, tentatively called Helios Pact, and I've been coming up with designs for it. I've been doing some test artwork, and a few of the designs are already completed, but there's a lot left to do. It's a design-heavy book, and I thought, well, let's give this a shot. Let's see what it can do for some of the less important costumes, at least, and see if it gives us some usable results. So this was my first prompt. I forget what it was, but as you might imagine, not terribly successful. I don't know why it came out so colorful. I think maybe stained glass was one of the prompts. I don't know why the guy on the bottom left looks like Don Draper with a weird haircut and some other strange things happening. But yeah, not a home run there. Second try was for a villain character. I was a little more detailed with my prompts. I said ornate robes, and there's some useful things here. I might pick up some of these shapes. I like the collar, but not a huge thing. This one was not very good either. It looks nice, but there's not much that I could use. This other one, I forget what I changed up, but there's a lot here I like. I love this guy's robe. I like this, aside from the fact that it looks like a heart, and I like this collar a lot. I will probably use all those elements in the final design. Moving forward a little bit, a good deal of the story, at least the beginning, takes place at a royal palace in the future. And I wanted it to be sort of 70s. I wanted it to be science fiction. I wanted it to be ornate. I think those are among the prompts I put in here. And I thought this looked really cool and interesting, but wasn't what I was looking for. And I'd say a drawback of AI at this point is you can't really say intelligently, hey, I'd like this to be a little bit more ornate, a lot cleaner, a bit more graceful. Also, I need to have a balcony because there's a scene on the balcony. Oh, and there need to be cool windows. I don't really have those tools right now. And again, they may develop that in the future. So while I had this and it was looking cool, not exactly what I wanted, I think the same thing developed here. And I really like these. These could be like great 70s book covers. I may use something like them for the villains hideout when I get to that point. But as is, it was not necessarily something that was super useful to me in developing what I was trying to develop. This became a little more useful. These are some good guy designs. I think I put battle armor, ornate, and some other stuff. And I got a lot that I liked here. I like this design a lot. I like this robe. I like this, I would call it a chest plate. I don't know exactly what. And I like some of the shapes we have happening here. I will probably use a lot of this. But the thing where it got really detailed is I had two characters, the main characters, and they are twins, and they're a prince and a princess. So their main uniforms I already designed a few months ago, but there was other things that were kind of in between a military uniform and a royal uniform, which of course is, you know, filtered through the lens of science fiction weirdness. And I put in a few prompts and got this back. There was a ton here I liked. This looks cool. I'll probably use it for something else. This is interesting, if not that useful. Same thing here. This I liked. This is exactly the type of thing I was looking for. Upscaled it, and it's still a mess. But there are some decent shapes here, and it did kind of get me thinking, hey, this, with a lot of refinement, could be pretty workable. So I have this I've been working on. whenever I have 5 minutes in between a render or something like that for work. And I would say it's a test page. It's not necessarily part of the story. I'm using it to develop how I'm going to color it, what type of rendering I'm going to use, how much I'm going to use, is there going to be cross-hatching, that sort of thing. And I kind of developed what you saw in that last frame. We've got the shapes here. Obviously, I refined them up a bit, connected them with some things like this and these lines. Same thing with the collar. I took some of the things we saw in the collar design I had initially, and they had, I think, a little yellow stripe here. I made a shape out of that, use this to connect it, and I'm pretty cool with this result. I like it a lot. I'll change it up a little bit, but I think that was a good prompt to get me pretty close to what I wanted from that character design. So I think that was a lot of fun to do. I definitely plan on doing more of it, and knowing now the strengths and weaknesses of this stuff. If you have something that you can kind of refine and you have a pretty good idea what you want for a character design, you can do some pretty cool things. This really got me to a point where I thought, yeah, I could do something like this with a lot of cleanup. And again, there's some other stuff here. I took another stab at that palace. Again, this was a little more graceful and cool looking. It's not in the desert in the story, but it did give me a cool vibe. Unfortunately, I need the palace to be super tall, and there really wasn't a good way to mix that up in ways I wanted. So I would say it kind of showed me that environment-wise, doesn't quite get me what I wanted. There was really no way to refine a little bit of what I wanted when I had something that was cool looking, but not quite the right thing that I could use for reference or even to springboard into other ideas. Character design, or when I should say uniform design, it does some pretty cool things if you know what you want, and you can take little details and say, oh, that would be cool for the wrist. That would be cool for the neck piece. Very useful stuff. And it all started out with this. I don't think I would have ever given it a second look if I had not been so impressed with this piece. So I'd say at this point, I don't know that it's terribly useful for backgrounds unless you can be really flexible. Same thing for environment design. If you can write your story around what you get, if you really like what you get, and say, well, that's cool, I'll write my story to fit that palace or that environment, I don't see why you wouldn't do it. I think that could be a fun way to develop something. Same thing with the character design aspects. I had some pretty set parameters, but it did a pretty good job of getting me to kind of what I wanted out of them. So definitely a lot of interesting stuff there. I'll keep messing with it. And I'm interested to see how it develops as technology gets better, as the prompts get better, as the tools for refining what you get back out of it get better. There should be some cool stuff. I don't think it's going to put us out of business anytime soon, which I'll admit was kind of my worry and a source of a bit of my curiosity. But all in all, I'd say there's some pretty interesting tools. So anything that lets me do, because I do everything myself, anything that gets me to the final point faster, I've got to take a pretty good look at, because I'm always trying to get my workflow better, always trying to get things done faster. I've got too many ideas, probably more than I'll have time to do. And hey, I'm looking for every tool I can get. So this was a decent one. Not quite where it could draw a comic book yet, but there are some pretty useful things it can do that if you are flexible, or if you have a very good idea of what you want to do and it's something that works out for well, yeah, you might get some use out of it. So thanks for checking me out, and hopefully there'll be more videos here soon. So if you're interested in this stuff, I'm gonna have some coloring tutorials. I might have some character design tutorials coming out soon, so check back. And thanks again for checking out the video.